Once again, back, it's the incredible Dale Valor's Inner Game Podcast. I'm rapper turned dating coach Dale Valor, your inner game wingman. Listen, here's the deal. If you're new to this podcast, what we're talking about is inner game. What is inner game? Inner game is the relationship that you have with you. If all the other relationships in your life are suffering, in large part, and usually it's due to the relationship that you have with you sucks, right? So if you don't like yourself, how can you expect anybody else to either? So here's the deal, man. We're going to go deep on so many inner game concepts in this podcast. I really am glad that you're here. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. If you're a long timer, welcome back. And let's hop in. All right, guys. So listen, I am super excited about having this guy on, man. Let me tell you, when I heard about Craig, I was like, yo, I got to get him on the podcast. So today I got Craig Sotkovsky, and what really stood out to me, and we'll definitely dive deep into it and everything. And but what really stood out to me was the 9/11. Surviving 9/11, and then also the cancer survivor thing, because as you guys know that regularly check out the podcast and everything, we talk a lot about overcoming adversity, and so, I like to have on guests who have really went through something, and to kind of show you and put it in context of what you're going through. And that's not to minimize, by the way, your experiences, what you're going through, and to suggest, oh, it's no big deal, man up and just get over it or anything like that. But it's to show that they're, look, whatever it is that you're going through, we've all been through the ringer, man. Ain't nobody come out of this life unscathed. And so it's to show you that there is a other side. There is that light at the end of the tunnel. One of the one quote that I really love is Winston Churchill. If you're going through hell, keep going, and I absolutely love that saying, man, and that quote, because it just demonstrates, man, if you're going through something, there's going to be finality to it. There's going to be an end. It's going to get better, so don't get bogged down in whatever muck and mire that you're having to be going through. But man, Craig, man, I'm so glad you're here, bro. Like I've been looking forward to this all week since we set it up, man. So thanks for coming on.
I appreciate the opportunity, Dale. I appreciate it, really do.
I know that was a long-winded intro, kind of, but I just wanted to set the scene, man. You know what I mean? And
so there's a couple things I have to say, right? So yeah, I didn't survive 9/11. Oh,
you're not with us anymore? Go ahead. I'm joking.
No, it's kind of because it's such a religion on its own. It's so political. So the words have to be like, I have to watch everything that I say.
I got you.
You know what I mean?
I got you.
I was only there for 2 days, man.
Okay. Well, what happened? I that's where I'm chomping at the bit. What went down for you?
So my wife and I lived in Jersey City. Okay. And at the time, I came out of my house and I was just like, could see the World Trade Center, like there's smoke. It's like, whoa, what's this? So I went, because I was renovating one house and we were living in the other house. And it was like, it's downtown Jersey City, so the blocks are real small.
Yeah.
So I told her, get her, because she was a photographer at the time, get your camera, we got to go. She's like, what's up? I was like, I have no idea, but the World Trade Center is on fire, right?
Yeah.
Like, that is like mind blowing. So we walked down to the river. And as we were doing that, I guess the second one had already hit.
Yeah.
And we're down by the river and we're watching this and everybody's screaming, sirens, like just complete pandemonium.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, what do you think is going to happen? I was like, I don't know. I've been in construction my whole life, man. I was like, maybe that top thing will fall over and like hit a bunch of buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
And as we were talking about this, you just heard this huge like roar and people just started running and we were across the river. Nobody knows.
Context, how far, because, we got people from all over the place who watch the podcast. So how far, mileage wise, you're at the river, you're seeing everything happen. Like, how far are we talking here?
A mile. The
Oh,
river,
wow.
I think the river itself is like a mile wide.
Yeah, right. Okay, got you. Okay, cool.
Long story short, I was down there for 2 days and never looked back. I was down there because we were in the middle of moving to Florida, and we just I never looked back. It was like one of those things in your life, and you just keep on going.
Yeah.
2012, I started getting sick. I had a collapsed lobe, and I had pneumonia. And it was like, whoa, where did this come from?
Mm-hmm.
I was in Mexico at the time, came back to the United States, and in 2016, I was sick the whole year.
Yeah.
Had pleurisy and pneumonia.
Okay.
And 2017, I got diagnosed with a carcinoid tumor in between my upper lobe and my middle lobe. I ended up getting a 9-hour surgery.
Wow.
First, I had a bronchoscopy and a rigid bronchoscopy and a flexible bronchoscopy. And one of those, I can't remember which one, they actually nicked the carcinoid. And that sent a whole bunch of nasty stuff throughout my body. I was in a hospital for probably like 5 to 7 days.
Okay.
That almost killed me. And while I was in the hospital, they talked to another hospital in Midtown. They were driving me by ambulance and everything. And I get there, and they had no idea why I was even there. I was supposed to have this radical surgery. They took me by ambulance, and nobody knew why I was even there, which was kind of weird.
Yeah, that's not what you want to hear. So why are you here again?
It was just really strange. It was just really strange. And I ended up having a 9-hour surgery where they took my mid and lower lobe, my right lung. And during that procedure, I was one of those people that woke up. I woke up screaming.
Oh,
because
wow.
I was on a table for so long, and there was so many drugs, and I guess my blood pressure shot down, and they couldn't do anything. So I was literally screaming. Seemed like hours, but I had probably ended up passing out or something, or they found something that they were able to give me. While I was going through that in the hospital, I had an epidural in my back where the pain doctor tripped over my line and bent it in my back.
Ooh.
Yeah, and then I had a nurse. She tripped over my drain that was in my side of my ribs. And
what was going on in there? Why is everyone tripping and falling?
Here's the best one though. This one still hurts. The lady that was cleaning my catheter, she tripped over the line and pulled it out halfway.
Oh.
And I had a buddy of mine. He was like reading my reports and stuff because he's a doctor. And he was like, "Oh man, you have poor urethra." I was like, man, it took me a year to like finally pee straight. Yeah, I'm thinking about this because I do all these podcasts now, right? On 9/11, and I was there for 2 days, right? And this is how intense this thing is. And I found out years later. To qualify for any kind of medical or monies or anything like that, you had to be there 4 hours of the first 5 days. And I was there for 2 days of the first 5 days. So I hit the wrong lotto.
Oh.
And it was just, what happens to you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, monetarily, is your life falls apart. It destroys your family. It destroys friendships. It destroys, there's people going through cancer right now have 3 different cancers in the 9/11 community, 2 different cancers in the 9/11 community.
And that's like from like the asbestos and all, and like just, I'm asking, is that like from the, basically from the ash and all the, drywall dust and all that stuff?
All of that.
Yeah.
All of that. Everything that you could possibly imagine, plastics and all that. But it was mostly ash. There's big pieces, side slabs and stuff like that. One of my jobs was running the Bobcat, and that was cleaning up. They're just cleaning up ash and papers. There's ash and papers everywhere.
Now, did you volunteer? Like, you just go down there and like? Oh,
No.
that's tough, man.
It took me 3 attempts. So that day, nothing happened.
Mhm.
The next day, tried to get on, and we got to, I believe it was the park across the river. Having a brain fart here, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Battery Park, I think, on a peninsula, and National Guards wouldn't let us off. And one of the profound things I still have an image of was they waved us back. We couldn't go there, and I looked, and there was a baby carriage sitting on the pathway to park.
Mm.
And I know I have a picture of it somewhere, and I just was like, couldn't even imagine what the family member or mom, dad, or nanny, or whatever was going through.
Yeah.
Be able to snatch the kid up and take off
Go. Yeah.
and just jet, right?
Right.
And you know, one of my messages is I'm one of tens of thousands who are sick and dying, and nobody really cares politically. They'll throw the flag up whenever 9/11 comes around. They'll throw the flag up, a whole bunch of speeches, and then 9/12, everybody forgets about it and worries about it in 9/10 the next year.
Right. Right.
And I mean, like I said, it's all political. It's a religion all of its own.
Right.
So you have to be careful of everything you say, people you talk to, and just like the interviews that you do. And my message wholeheartedly is that we're all going through something, and it's going to devastate you. There's something in your life that's going to be so devastating. It's going to stop you in your tracks. And I always thought it was like, why is this shit happening to me? Like, why me?
Right.
And I ended up realizing it was done for me. And I mean, I can't tell you how much crap we've been thrown at.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, just my family. And I'm still in awe that I'm able to do this because I want people to understand that we have this chemistry set within us.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe once you go through any embarrassing situations, humiliating experiences, you can change your chemistry set.
Right.
And I stress this. I stress this because, like you said, everybody's going through something.
Right.
Right.
No doubt.
So we're all going through something. So what I realized while I've traveled and lived in different cultures and stuff is nobody laughs or cries in a different language.
Right.
We're all the same.
Yeah.
So if a knucklehead from Jersey like myself could figure out how to trip and trick this into believing that everything is going to be fine before an event happens. And I'll give you an example. In 2020, I had 8 to 12 surgeries, procedures. I can't even remember anymore. Mm-hmm. It just seemed like every month I was getting put under for something.
Yeah.
And I would start like a week and a half or 2 weeks before, I would start healing my body before the surgery even happened. And some people would be like, oh, that's ridiculous. It's impossible. It's like, no, you don't understand. I've spent tens of thousands of hours by myself.
Yeah.
I've studied epigenetics. I wanted to learn because they give you morphine, they give you all these drugs and stuff, and they don't do anything. They really don't. And what I've discovered through my mentors, coaches, psychologists, psychiatrists, we all have this ability to overcome the story.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it doesn't matter what the story is. The story in like human behavior, when somebody's telling the story, can get very heavy. You could be talking about rape, molestation. You could be talking about war. You could be talking about all of these things. And they're stories in our head.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is we keep this emotional attachment to the story. Right. And we'll walk through life with this, oh man, 24/7. I know, I did it.
Yeah.
It took me years to understand me. And the biggest thing that people need to understand or have to understand about themselves is that we all have this greatness within.
Yep.
And I believe we're light seeking the human experience. And I tell people on podcasts and interviews and all of this stuff that when you understand heart and brain coherence,
Mm-hmm.
when you have that ability to feel that feeling, after everything that you've been through, there's a light that gets turned on.
Yeah,
I believe.
no doubt. One thing that you just said there reminded me of. Are you familiar with Sean Stevenson?
No.
Okay, so Sean Stevenson, he's passed away, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. But kind of a side note, one thing I saw on your website that I didn't know until I saw it was being an NLP practitioner, and that's something I'm all about it. You know what I mean? And but Sean Stevenson, also an NLP coach, practitioner, self-help guy. Now, here's a guy who was born with some degenerative type of disease where, like, basically his bones were very brittle and didn't grow. So he's, 3.5 feet tall in a wheelchair for his entire life, probably broke bones 150 plus times, and through all that, became a motivational speaker and worked for the Clinton administration, and like just he was a psychology professor at, I believe, it either Northwestern or DePaul, one of the two, and he had a fall, and well, he died, but his last words were I might be paraphrasing a bit, but none of this happened to me. It happened for me, and you said something very similar. And that's kind of what brought that to mind, like, yeah, man, like we go through these events in our life that are, traumatic and impactful, and it's very easy to hang on to it and let it define who we are, as opposed to it just becoming a part of us so as that we can help others overcome similar circumstances. I liken it to like a helium balloon. Like if you're carrying, the trauma isn't the actual event. The trauma is the attachment that we have to that event. And if you cut that cord or that rope or whatever, the balloon flies away. It doesn't mean that it's not important what happened and things like that. But if you're hanging on to it and letting it define you, that's traumatic in and of itself. You're reliving this all the time, as opposed to moving on from it and what can I take from this moving forward, And so I absolutely love that, man. Are your health problems that you've had in the past, are they related to 9/11? Do you think?
Yeah, I have four certified 9/11 illnesses.
Wow.
One is esophagus, one is GERDs, PTSD, and then lung cancer.
I got you.
And everything is broken. Everything is broken down into like little brackets.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was so devastating to me was I just couldn't get out of my head.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in real estate for the longest time, making
me too.
serious money.
I used to be. Yeah.
Making serious money. I couldn't even pay my light bill.
Mm.
I couldn't, pay insurance. I just couldn't. I'd be in bed for months, weeks at a time.
Yeah.
Self-imposed isolation, thinking I'm a piece of shit. Like my looking at my wife, she's always checking on, making sure I'm not dead. My daughter from 6 to now has seen me sick. So I had all of this heaviness, man. Like I let them down. I'm a failure, all of this stuff. And I really do believe you have to sit in that. You have to sit in that and you have to feel those emotions, because men, we're macho. We're not supposed to show emotions. It's the most ridiculous thing ever.
Agreed. 100%.
So it devastates you in a way to where it, like, for me, just my experience. So I have these surgeries, and then 2020, I had these surgeries, and then 2021, throughout my whole life, I had 8 knee operations. In 2021, they gave me a knee ablation to like fry the nerves so I could like actually move around or whatever.
Yeah.
And ended up getting 3 blood clots.
How many surgeries have you had, man?
I don't even know now.
Wow, that's incredible.
I don't even know. But here's the thing, right? So I talked to my buddy about this. His name is Robert, and I'm telling him about my leg and everything like that. And then I'm just looking, and I'm just like, he's got no legs. He's got no legs.
Yeah.
This is one of the most amazing men I've ever met in my life, and most amazing humans. He has to do things that the average person couldn't even think of doing in his everyday life, just to be able to survive his everyday life.
Right.
And survive it. This guy can like move any machine. Any machine this guy could like, and he's got rigged up with all the stuff that he needs and all this. My point is we're human beings, and once we understand that, we get rid of all of this nonsense, all of this noise, and we lower the frequency down. And we sit in it, because this is all this is. It's energy, frequency, and vibration. That's all we are.
Yeah.
And when you're able to go through all the pain, misery, suffering, self-loathing, self-sabotaging behaviors, like all this stuff. This went on for 10 years in my life.
Right.
I'm 58 years old. This went on from my 40s to my 50s.
Yeah.
I already had like 12 lives before.
Right. Yeah. You didn't come into this young, you know. So
no, and the devastating part is what it does to your family.
Yeah.
But what it does to your friend. I've had people walk away from me. I've been bankrupt, broke. Like we've probably been broke like 3 times during this.
Yeah.
Bankrupt once. Thinking about the subconscious and stuff, you just want people to be well. If you love somebody, you have to let them go. Right.
Yeah.
And it's hard and all of this stuff, but the only thing you can do is control your emotions.
Yeah.
So as we're talking about this, and you're on the other side of that, yeah, but I still have many other things going on in my life right now that I have to keep my shit together.
Yeah.
Because if I don't, I know you're gonna spiral down that slide again, and I'll just never do that ever again.
Yeah.
Because once you stay in this feeling, I mean, I have holes everywhere. They told me they were treating me 3 times for cancer, and they were only right once, but I got the scars for all 3.
Yeah.
And when you're like, man, life is crazy. It takes you and puts you in so many different emotions. And I believe you have to sit in that. I believe my belief system is anybody can conquer anything as long as they conquer themselves.
Yes. 100%.
First and foremost.
Love it.
First and foremost, we have to be able to understand who we are simply as a being.
Right.
Simply as, I tell people, if you want to become a multimillionaire, be that person now, before the event. Because I talk with mentees and clients, and it's all about how you're going to respond to this world, because life's coming for you whether you want to participate or not.
Yeah.
Right? So you have all of these things, all of this stuff just going, and you have to sit and just observe.
Yeah.
And people be like, oh, but you don't know me. You don't like my story. It's just a story.
Right.
All it is a story. And if you're going to sit in that story, then your life is going to be more devastating than anything, and you're going to spiral out of control.
Agreed. 100%. One thing I really love that you said is about, embracing it and kind of sitting with it.
And it's hard.
Yeah, man. It's hard. Scary, but here's the deal. Like what in particular, my audience is largely men. Probably 99.9%, and like you said, as guys, it's like, oh, well, we got to man up, and just shoulder it and all that kind of thing. And that's fine. But the thing is that it makes us resistant to things that are going on with us internally, and think about it like this. If you're coming at me, right? And I've got my arm out like this and I'm stiff arming you, but you're still coming at me. Now, I can hold you off for for a little while, but at a certain point in time, I'm going to buckle. When I buckle, that momentum that's been building up is going to fall into me that much more. Right. And that's what happens with guys a lot of times. It's like, no, not thinking about this. No, not dealing with that. And now it never leaves because it's still pushing on you and you're pushing back, and all that mental bandwidth and emotional bandwidth that it takes to keep these things out on all fronts is exhausting. It's better to just accept it, embrace it, and deal with it rather than try to resist it. I say this all the time. Whatever resists persists. Whatever you're resisting is going to persist if you don't deal with it. You know what I mean? So I love that. What was the catalyst that kind of brought you out of it and kind of started you on this path of, coaching and helping people that are going through some stuff?
So I always coached. Back in the day, we used to speak at real estate conventions, owner finance, so like all of that, right? So there was always something like that in my life.
Okay.
I've been mentored by the best in the world. Anthony Robbins, Kirk Ashley, and during all of this fiasco, I got mentored by a gentleman. His name is Les Brown.
My homie, Stephen De La Cruz, Les Brown is like one of his best friends. He did the foreword of my buddy Stephen's book and all that. I'm very familiar. Yeah, go ahead. Well, man, I know that you got a lot of information out of this particular episode. Listen, if you need to go a little bit deeper, always feel free to reach out to me. Look, there's a few ways you can do that. You can shoot me an email. You can send me a DM. I'm easy to find, but the best place that you can find me is at freegiftfromdale.com. It's in the description of the episode, and you're going to get a couple of free gifts there. You'll get the first chapter of my book, Inner Game, and you will also find an exercise to help you find out about yourself and who you really, truly are at the core, okay? And listen, if you haven't subscribed to the channel or the podcast, make sure you do so, man. It takes you 1 second to do it. And it means the world to us here, okay? If you know somebody who could really use this information, feel free to share it, man. Don't hold it to yourself. You know what I mean? So we will see you in the next one.